Hey there, retail enthusiast. I'm Isha Dalal, Solutions Architect at AWS.
And I'm Romy Elsas, Enterprise Account Manager. We're coming to you from Melbourne, Australia.
Welcome to Retail Insights with AWS, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of retail, uncover the latest trends, and explore how AWS is transforming the industry.
From the aisles to the cloud, join us as we dive under the hood with industry leaders and AWS retail experts. We will explore the latest trends in customer experience, supply chain optimization, data-driven decision-making, and more.
So grab a cup of coffee. You're logged into Retail Insights with AWS. Welcome to today's episode, where we are uncorking the world of digital transformation in the wine industry. We are delighted to have with us Amanda Green, General Manager of Digital and Innovation at Treasury Wine Estates, one of the world's largest wine companies. Our guest brings us a wealth of experience in digital transformation and innovation in the traditionally analog world of wine.
Treasury Wine Estates has a rich heritage dating back to the 19th century, with iconic brands like Penfolds, Daou, and Wynns in its portfolio. As we navigate through the complexities of blending centuries-old winemaking traditions with modern digital solutions, we're excited to hear insights on how TWE is reshaping the wine industry for the digital age. So let's raise a virtual glass and welcome our guest to the show. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your role at Treasury Wine Estates?
Yes, so I have a extensive sort of history in digital, 20 years or so. My role here now at Treasury is actually bringing the wine industry or our wine company into sort of the digital era. So I look at the digital experiences that we deliver to our consumers, and then how do we use things like innovation and technology to really improve those and resonate with our customers a bit better.
Thank you.
So when you see like wine industry being such a traditional industry, being here for like ages and ages, but how do you see these digital channels are used to discover those different interactions with the consumer market today and how those digital channels can be used within the wine industry?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one, right? In terms of if you really put yourself in the shoes of the consumer is not just engaging with wine in a traditional sense anymore. So the digital channel has a huge role to play in the wine industry going forward. Like when you think of consumers, we're all on devices, we're all on the internet, we're all engaging with that early on in our journey when we're exploring and researching things. So when we're engaging with wine, we're doing the same thing. So the digital channel is really important for a traditional industry such as wine to get that right, because consumers are looking for wine, they're looking for inspiration and understanding about wine well before they come into a traditional channel such as a cellar door or into the sort of local store to buy a bottle of wine. So it's really important that we get that right, so we have the consumer really understanding and engaging with our brands before they get to those traditional channels. We definitely don't ignore the traditional channels. Of course, they are super important to the company and to the brand, but it's really important we start to engage with other channels outside of that and make sure we're thinking of the consumer's journey, that 360 of where they're standing from.
I love the part when you said that, using the digital channels to inspire consumers to have that relationship with you. So not just as a way to interact with the consumer, but inspire them towards these traditional industries as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important when you think of just shopping in general, when you as a consumer yourself use a digital channel, it is for that inspiration, right? This is why social media has become so popular and important, because we're looking to our peers to inspire us. We're looking to other people and what are they doing. So as a brand, you also need to be part of that conversation and you need to be there too. So you're also being part of that relationship and that community with the consumer, their friend group, and establish yourself a lot wider. There's a lot to be said for the digital world and what that can do.
You spoke about the brand, and Treasury Wine Estates is an iconic brand. Some fun facts: Penfolds turned 180 this year. And when Grange turned 50, it was awarded a heritage listing from South Australia, which is an incredible accolade and milestone. You're within 70 countries, 10,000 acres, which for those playing at home is the equivalent of 20,000 MCG stadiums and fields.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's quite impressive, your legacy and also your heritage. How do you find in today's day and age, we've spoken about social media, how do you re-engage with some of the newer generation, and how do you get them to resonate with some of your history, but also as you move into the future?
Yeah, it's an interesting one in terms of when you think of something like Penfolds, which has got that real history about it, and it's got a real following in terms of Grange. And you've got your connoisseurs who love it, who would buy it and then store it away for years and years. But then you've got this next generation of consumers coming along, and they're not willing to wait 30 years to drink a bottle of wine. I'm also one of them. I'm terrible at waiting. I have no patience for that. So you've got this next generation who want to be inspired by their brand, who want to be inspired by what Grange is, but maybe they want to buy a bottle of wine that's already been aged for 30 years by someone else. So it's a different sort of engagement that you have with them. But then it's also that route to market can be different. So if you look at Penfolds as an example, they've had last year or so, they've engaged Nego to be, first sort of creative partner. And that's a total change in direction. Now, that might not resonate with the older connoisseur who's used to the Grange and is invested in that part of the luxury and icon part of the brand. But it does resonate with that next generation who want to be excited by something, who want to show it off. And these are great colours. They've just released a Christmas collection with the Nego stuff, and I don't know if you've seen it. It's Japanese inspired, and it's just beautiful. Stands out on shelves, and that's inspiring that next generation of consumer. It's not necessarily going to attract the connoisseur, but the next generation will love that. That's something you can share on social. That's something that's going to stand out to everyone else and say, hey, look what I'm drinking. So there's sort of different tactics like that. And really, I think the key thing about all of that is just understanding your consumer and how many different consumers you have, and make sure you're speaking to them on their level and what they want to do. So when you're talking about that next generation, what do they want to see from a brand? And they want to see the luxury part, absolutely, but in a different way. So it's really important as a brand that you start thinking about that and engaging in a totally different way. But at the same time, do not forget about those other segments that still need the same love they always had. So you need a multi-talented and multi-skilled marketing team who can cover all of that. And we're very lucky to have that, that's for sure.
It's so important you identified your consumer market and communicate to those consumers in the way that they would like to hear, the way they would relate to your brand, the way they would want someone to talk to them and relate to them. And talking to Gen Z with my social media platform and using these art and also the cultural significance from the regions that art is connected to them and telling a story around that. How do you see the storytelling being an important aspect in today's day and age when social media is, yes, one aspect of it, but even in the traditional way, the storytelling part is always such an important impact to your consumers.
Oh, absolutely. And I think now more than ever, it's super important. Like having a really strong branding strategy has never been more really critical because we've gone past logos and taglines, right? Yeah. We've gone past the fact that a brand can tell you, hey, you want to drink this, eat this, do that. Because as consumers now, we're like, well, I'll hear what you say, but also I want to know what 10 of my friends say or what my community say and what they're all thinking. That's the power of social media, right? So as a brand, then you have to be part of that and you have to be telling a story. You need to be creating a story, talking about your history, 180 years or things like that, that really resonates with that consumer on that real deeper level so that they feel a connection to that brand. Not that we've told them to drink it, that they actually feel a connection to it, that they want to drink it. It's their decision on their terms. It's really important that you have that storytelling and engagement with your consumer. Otherwise, you just won't stand the test of time. You need to make that impact.
Yeah. And I love you. We previously talked about, similar to the storyline, you talked about the supply chain of your content.
Yes.
Have that in mind when you talk about it, because if you have a story there, you talk about it, but it's moving so fast. You gotta have a mechanism there. Keep it going, keep it connecting. It is changing, but you gotta be in the market there and be there with the people, how their mood is changing and the seasons are changing and all those things, keeping in mind.
That's it. You've got to be there, right time, right place, and be forefront of conversation. And people's conversations change daily, right?
Yeah.
So. You spoke about the different demographics. I guess to coin the phrase, you're diversifying without diluting the brand. If anything, you're making it far more richer. We spoke about social media, but a key component of that is personalisation and customer experience. Could you share a little bit about what your thoughts are, whether it be at Treasury Wine Estates or organisations in general in today's day and age, and how important that really connecting on an individual level is?
It's a really interesting topic, because I think for the last, I suppose, year, I think we've all heard a lot of people say we need to personalise one-on-one, right? I want to know exactly what you've bought, what you've looked at, who you've talked to, everything, so that I can give you exactly the right content at the right time, but that's just for you. And then you might be something completely different, right? So we'll give you a different one. I think what is missing and what's super important in that is, yes, understanding your consumer and understanding as much as you can within regulations and all this properly. But it's really important then to just make sure you're looking at the data and the analytics of it. Because I think what I'm starting to see and hear about is that maybe the one-to-one isn't the critical path. There's maybe an in-between, right, where there's a one to a consumer segment. Yeah. Maybe there's something that connects the two of you, and actually I'm better off serving content related to the two of you as a group rather than try to start personalised one-on-one. So that data and that analytics part of it is so critical. And any company that isn't really looking to the data and analytics is going to have a hard time, because you need to measure the success of what you're doing. And that might not be sales. There's lots of different metrics that will actually resonate to the success of something. But it's really important to test and learn. So I've personalised that to you. Did you click through more than you would have in the last 10 months? No? Well, then why would I spend time on doing that? There's probably better things I can spend my time on. So that personalisation part, while important, it's really important, just as important to find the right balance of it.
When you talked about, like, rather than one-to-one, talking to in a smaller segments maybe, and that's the trend I have been also seeing with my set of customers as well, that you may be targeting as in, this is a teenage group, this is an older people group, or this is like Sydney might have this sort of a preference, Melbourne have this preference, New York have this preference, region-based something, categorization. So categorization of your customers sometimes is critical for the business to see an overall trend, how things are going. And for all that thing, one of the critical aspect or the foundation aspect is data.
Yeah.
How do you see data playing a crucial role when you, as a business leader, make decisions? And how do you use analytics in your business? And how do you see the trends going with that?
For me, data underpins everything. And there probably isn't anyone who's been on my team, in any team in the last 10 years, who wouldn't have heard me say that. Like, I don't like decisions being made on gut feeling alone. There is obviously always something about, you can't innovate without having some sort of gut feeling of it, right? You can't analyse everything, but there has to be something in some sort of rooted in data somewhere. Right, there has to be something that you can infer, something that you can measure, something you can learn to give you an indication that this is the right course to take. So it's critical that in any sort of team, in any structure, when you're looking at technology, when you're looking at digital, you're incorporating data, analytics and insights in some way into that. I mean, you can be looking at sentiment analysis online, you can be social listening, it can be purchase history, how did they browse online, what were people looking at, without saying one-on-one, what did you exactly look at? You can get a sense of what in general people are looking at, because with those sorts of things, and you're thinking about a website and conversion, well, if people are going to a certain page and they all drop off from that page, why? What's wrong with that page? Why are they not continuing on? How do I make that journey better, improve it, and make the consumer experience better? So always looking at a consumer journey means you're also looking at the data.
And it also helps with your product development, right?
Yeah.
You get an insight of what product is working, what is not working. Are you meeting your targets, not meeting your targets? And like just in head of everything in the business going on is making sure that whatever decision you're making, there is some sort of a rational decision making based on data,
Correct.
that next step is being made then.
Well, especially when you think of wine, right? We have a supply chain that can take up to 5 years to produce something. We're not going to turn around and say, oh, we're suddenly going to create a new varietal, plant a new varietal in the vineyard and take all that time to develop it, mature it, make the wine, without some sort of insight that says, this is where the consumer is heading. This is a market insight that says consumers are starting to talk about Grenache a lot more. Let's maybe plant some Grenache as an example. You wouldn't go off and do that in a normal world when you've got a supply chain like that. So why would you do it anywhere else?
Data-driven insights, but also consumer intelligence is so critical at the moment. Data's almost it is the gateway to more innovative solutions like AI, ML, and Gen AI, whether it be at Treasury Wine Estates or just in your world. How do you see AI and innovation forming a key part of any strategy?
AI is everywhere. I think that's just the tagline of the year. I mean, it's obviously exploded now. Now, I liken it to e-commerce, where e-commerce was around for 50 years before someone went, oh my God, e-commerce. Yeah. Well, AI is exactly the same, right? If someone's done a great marketing job on AI in the last year, but that said, the technology itself is just evolving at such a rapid pace that it's no surprise it's what we're all talking about. And I think we're getting to this point now where something like AI is no longer just a tool we're using, but it's actually becoming a partner in what we do. And you can now use that to generate copy, imagery, drive efficiencies, all those sorts of things, and personalisation in a much more effective way. So it's very exciting to see that coming along, and it's just going to unlock so much for brands because there's so much we're not doing. And I know that there is a fear of AI taking jobs and things like that, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's it's giving us an opportunity to do more. It's taking away those mundane tasks that we may do, helping us get that baseline done, and freeing up space to think strategically, to think in the most innovative way and get after new things that we wouldn't have had time for before. AI is huge. It can touch everyone and make everyone's job so much better, and it can make everyone much more efficient. But how do we enable that in people? How do we take away that fear of AI? How do we get past the hype too and all the buzz part of it and actually use it and engage it for what it can really do for us?
One interesting thing that I found out about TWE is how you guys using NFTs for wine industry, which is so cool. Like I looked into that. This is the right way of preserving the authenticity of the wine and still making sure that you are embracing digital technology as part of, this is the perfect blend of traditional business with the technology and digital. Tell us more about that. What do you see this NFT is going? Where is it going? How do you see wine industries adopting it and your take on it?
Yeah. I think like any technology, right, you test and learn. So I think a few years ago we tested with a company around NFTs where we did 3 releases of different NFTs with this company, and they were limited edition, like you could buy a barrel of wine and it sold out very quickly. And then within a couple of years when that barrel matured, it became 300 NFTs that could then be sold and traded. Now, sounds like, it's just a way of selling, but when I think about it, and taking away the hype of NFTs, because of course there was a lot of hype in the market, right? And we've seen so much change over that. And I do hear a lot of NFTs, but I do think Web3, blockchain, NFTs play a part in a utility type of way in the future. We're not there yet. It may or may not come to fruition, but I firmly believe there is a case for it, where an NFT, think of a bottle of wine that has been produced. It can be stored exactly where it's been produced and left in that cellar. Someone buys that digital twin of it and they keep that digital twin as proof that they own that bottle of wine that is in that cellar where it was produced. It stays there for the next 30 years in the perfect conditions, in the never moved, never touched, until eventually it's sold to someone who decides to burn that NFT. Now, that NFT could be traded globally anywhere in the world. And then you have someone who eventually burns the NFT, and at that point only does that wine bottle leave the cellar and get shipped to that person. And you can make sure it's refrigerated. So along that whole way of the line, you've preserved that authenticity, that provenance of it. You've made sure it's in the perfect condition. There's no recorking issues. There's no anything like that. It's the perfect situation. So something like that is really interesting. But the other use cases I'm seeing of it, for me, around blockchain is recording that whole supply chain part of it. Like, as a consumer, especially when you talk to sustainability or even wanting to know where your food or your wine or whatever you're consuming comes from, you could record every part of that journey. You can record when the grape was sort of planted, who picked it, who was the winemaker who created the wine, and what did they think about it. Record videos that talk about why they did what they did, how they, what was the recipe that they used or something like that. And then as it sort of matures, well, you can update that blockchain to say, hey, now it's 5 years old, it's going to taste like this, it's 10 years, and you can record all of that. So imagine being able to have that bottle of wine and access that level of information about that bottle of wine. Suddenly, that's the storytelling, right? That's the emotional connection to that particular bottle of wine. That's super important. And then again, there's another opportunity around it in terms of, and we're talking about this before, right, the emotional connection of sharing a bottle of wine with friends. So if you as a NFT owner have that bottle and you say, okay, now I would like to share it with friends, and there is a company in the market who is doing this and doing it very well, which is why I love the idea, I can then say, I've opened this bottle of wine, here you go, you get an NFT tasting token that says, yes, now I've tasted this wine, and you have a record now in your ledger that you've actually tasted this wine, and then you have one as well, and then I know that I've shared it with these 6 people, and that was how I opened that bottle of wine. So now I have the history of that wine, how it was made, and then I've got who are the 6 people I shared it with, and that's a record in time for me as well. And then that sort of, you take that on, and every bottle of wine you try, you've got either the same group of people, different group of people, but it's a memory book of sorts, right? Mm-hmm. So it's, when you think of that and that storytelling and that connection and that emotional connection, that's what's unlocked by having a ledger such as that, like the blockchain. So it's really exciting for me that there is that opportunity, but we're not there yet, but we can be.
No, that's a perfect blend also of luxury.
Yeah.
That you have your wines stored at one place, and you have that rich history and the heritage attached to it.
Yeah.
And then when you share it with your friends, you remember, like, on your 25th anniversary, this is what you did.
Yeah.
And on your 50th anniversary, this is what you did. So as a history that you can pass on as well, that's there attached to you and your family, and as an emotional connection.
Yeah, and so much about luxury wine and spirits is gifting.
Yeah.
It is often a gift as a celebration of a special occasion. Grange is definitely around births. Like, as soon as your birth year, right?
Yeah.
Someone buys that because by the time they turn 21, it's been cellar for 21 years. And it's perfect to open and celebrate that occasion. So those sorts of things are great. And imagine you could put videos of that and, those sorts of things to that.
Memories.
Yeah, exactly, memories, yeah.
You've been a barrel of information. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. It's great to swirl around some of these thoughts. Yeah. You spoke a little bit about collaboration earlier, and I think that speaks to, again, kind of the regions that you play within, being it Southeast Asia, or you've recently acquired Daou in America. In the US. What's next for Treasury Wine Estates?
I think it's at the moment we've just redone the vision, the strategic vision, which is to be like the world's most desirable luxury wine company. And that's the real focus now, is really leaning into that. How do we talk to the consumer? How do we understand our consumer more and make that experience a real luxury experience for consumers? And digital obviously plays a key part in that. And enabling sort of, whether it's online or whether it's events and things like that, understanding more about our consumers and the data. That's really where we're heading towards, and really focusing on that and leaning into that. And innovation it'll be key to all of that, whether it's new products or whether it's how we talk to the consumer and how we engage with them.
Luxury is so it's so personal, but you've got a significant opportunity within, I guess, all of the products and the brands that you have to really own that throughout any consumer's lifestyle or customer's lifestyle. Or life cycle, rather, because as we know, it's a product where palates mature, things change when it comes to what's avant-garde with what to eat and how you pair it. And in terms of, again, that experience and looking towards the future, is there anything that you can share with us from an innovation perspective that you're working on with your team?
Yeah, no, the supply chain has done some amazing work behind the scenes with both data and AI and the Internet of Things in terms of using that information to sort of understand, long-range forecasts and couple it with predictive technology to understand what the yields might be around harvests and things like that. So really getting a good grip on how we can produce wine, how much we can produce, and you can imagine how that has a flow-on effect to the rest of the business in terms of how much will we have to sell. Correct. And then there's the sustainability thing where we look to the Internet of Things and we can understand, well, the irrigation part of it. Do we need to water the crops? Do we need to sort of do something different? Without that information coming in, you would continue to water them, right? Because you're not going to risk underwatering these vines. But with the Internet of Things or with data and AI and sort of that sort of information, we know that they're okay. We do not need to water them every day. We can use that information to tell us when to water them. So there's some great stuff that they're doing there that is, amazing in going forward and working on that supply chain and giving the sort of vineyard of the future, which is very, very exciting.
I think another aspect that you touched briefly is the vineyard management, right?
Yeah.
It's such a vast topic that we can go deep into that, how the different aspects of it, the agriculture aspect of it, the weather aspect of it, and IoT, and how do you mix all that. I will encourage our listeners to go and dive deep into that, and potentially we'll get Amanda again or someone from her team to come and talk about vineyard management. But I think that's an interesting topic that we can explore next.
Yeah.
So that's it for today, our podcast. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Oh, pleasure.
Before you leave, I think everyone would want to know your favorite wine. Or what would you recommend your wine?
So many. Okay, so during the week, I would love a Penfolds. I'd been 28. That would be my sort of go-to. I love that one. But at the moment, Treasury have just released one called a Squillini, so Squealing Pig. And I'm obsessed with it. It's a fuzzy peach one, so it's very peach, spritzy. Oh, it's beautiful because we're having hot weather today, which is probably why it's forefront of my mind. That is one that I would highly recommend on a weekend, a hot summer's day. It would be beautiful. But then for those special occasions, I would have and I'm very Penfolds through and through. This is going to be so obvious. Penfolds champagne. Like when we're thinking Christmas, we're coming up to Christmas, right? So you'd start with a Penfolds champagne, you'd have a 389 or a Saint Henri, and then you'd have a lovely, and I'll go at least to another brand, Wynns. I'd have a Pedro Jimenez for fruit pudding, the Christmas pudding and custard.
Christmas lunch at Amanda's house.
Yeah. I have the wine sorted. You have to bring the food though.
Okay. No, definitely. So thank you so much, Amanda, to coming and discussing about those amazing digital transformation aspects, not just in wine industry, but also overall in the retail industry that you're seeing how things are changing. And thank you for sharing all your insights with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been fun.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you for joining us. So let's all raise a glass to TWE's story of innovation and adaptability. It's clear that digital technologies are more than just a new sales channel. They're transforming how we discover, experience, and enjoy wine. From data-driven supply chains to innovative digital marketing, TWE is truly at the forefront of this digital revolution. If you're intrigued by what you've heard and want to experience the digital side of wine, I encourage you to explore Treasury Wine Estates. Trust me, your palate might just thank you.
To our audience, the insights shared today underscore the importance of embracing digital transformation. Whether you're enhancing your e-commerce capabilities, leveraging data analytics for production, or creating immersive digital experiences for customers, the time to innovate is now. AWS offers a comprehensive suite of solutions designated to support your digital transformation journey, whether you're enhancing your data analytics capabilities or optimizing your overall online presence. You can visit aws.amazon.com/retail.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back soon with another episode exploring the latest trends in digital commerce. Stay tuned.